Welcome back to another fine edition of Rock Forever. We got a very special guest. I go back 43 years with this gentleman. I will tell him all about that. But he is, of course, the singer songwriter, founder of the mighty DOA, and, of course, the founder of Sudden Death Records. He's got a lot of exciting things going on with this documentary that's coming in a way that you can get involved. Please welcome Joe KEITHLEY.
Hi, how you doing there, Jay? Hello, everybody.
Doing great. Yeah, no, I was the guy in Bellingham, just north of Seattle, just south of Vancouver, in charge of all the shows back there, 76 through 80. So I
Right.
was lucky enough to be at the cusp of punk rock and put on some of the best and finest first shows ever in the Northwest. And of course, used to go up to Vancouver and see the mighty DOA. I remember one of the first shows it was like at the train station. There was some venue right tucked right into like it was a real blue collar warehouse kind of area. I just remember
Okay.
the trains and stuff down there. But of course, the original lineup with Randy Rampage and Chuck Biscuits, and we were involved with the Warp Tour for 20 years, so saw you many times. That's the last place that I interviewed you in your RV right there
Yeah.
at the Warp Tour in Southern California. But always great to see you, and more importantly, we salute the survivors, the people that are not only the trailblazers, but the people that are still there. And that's you, Joe. And congrats to doing what you do, and can't wait to see and hear more about this incredible documentary.
Yeah. No, thanks, Jay. I think, yeah, I'm trying to think of the train station gig that might have been O'Hara's or something like that in Vancouver. It didn't last long, but was a rough and tumble area, as you might expect of Vancouver, right? So, yeah, it's great to be back. I haven't talked to you since Warp Tour, so which is always. I remember just being excruciatingly hot, playing in the afternoon on the most California sun, just baking.
Yeah, that's
as
the Warp Tour for
Canadian.
you. Very very little shade.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
lots of fans that want to rock all day. And of course, it does get worse though. The humidity down in the
Yeah.
southeast and the south definitely gets hotter than Southern California, but it was blazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's much nicer than being down in New Orleans in the summertime. So, yeah. Anyways, things are going good. We got this documentary, a Kickstarter campaign. You can go Kickstarter. The documentary is called Something Better Change, and it's the documentary details DOA from start to present. I mean, we're still playing, except for COVID, so we're not playing, but we would be if not for that. And then myself getting elected to city council up here in Metro Vancouver 2 years ago. So it's a funny transition, right? So.
Yeah, well, I always know that you guys were, right there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is it talk less action equals zero?
Or talk minus action, but same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we all live by. There's a lot of talkers out there, and in these decades, we've all seen them come and go, but there's very few people willing to put in the work, execute the plan, and make for a better change. And Joe and DOA was always about that. And you epitomize the DIY movement that we all live by. But documentaries to me have become my favorite form of entertainment, because why do I want to watch a biopic of somebody playing somebody, especially if they're still alive, or some corny sitcom with a canned laugh track, when I can watch history and go from the past to the present and learn about those that made change and those that really dedicated themselves to put their action where their mouth is.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things you can capture, like in a documentary, and especially if they got a twist. And one of the things we wanted to do with Something Better Change, which is also the name of the first DOA album, we realized that there's a lot of music documentaries, like 10, 12, 15 years ago. It was pretty rare, right? One of the first ones we were involved with was American Hardcore by Paul Rackman. He was the director and producer. And but that was pretty unique at the time, because that gave you like a picture of what hardcore was like that back in the day, and updating it because it talked to the people in the present circumstances, back in 07 when the film came out, around there, right? But so we think that this story is unique because it's not just music, but involves like the activism, like right from the start. I mean, I got into music, I got to play in DOA, and we kind of had three goals. One was to play super loud, obnoxious music. Two was to have a great time doing it. And three was change the world. So those goals haven't changed. And, you can see where we've got to from taking those 3 points.
Yeah, well, I always note it, we consider you, one of the founders of hardcore punk, along with our SoCal friends, Black Flag, and,
Yep.
Bad Brains from the East Coast, and the Angry Samoans, and the Germs, and all the great bands back there in the late 70s. And, you always delivered that as an advocate for anti-racism, anti-globalization, freedom of speech, environmentalism. There's a lot of corporations that would love to take all our natural resources and rape them for a profit, and a lot of people out there that like only people that look like them, and people that really have no sense of teamwork. Last time I checked, there was only one race, and that was the human race, and
Yep.
we need to work together. And I remember hearing first many years back when you were to run for office. And I know how groundbreaking that was. Wow, this punk rock singer, this guy from the streets, really is willing to get in there and show that there needs to be a voice of the youth.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. People would ask me a lot about, like, I ran 6 times. The first time I ran was in 96, 97 again, 01. Then I gave up for about 15 years and ran again 16, 17. I got elected in 18. But I really encourage people like that come from different backgrounds, and I really encourage like punk rockers to run for office, and musicians, because I think you get a different way of looking at the world that you don't have the typical experience of most of the people we find in office. And so by being a musician, traveling around the world, I mean, we've had to negotiate our way, myself personally and other people, like I'm in similar position, negotiate our way through all sorts of circumstances, dealing with like border guards, police, rip-off promoters, out of control fans, that kind of thing. So you're kind of, to me, the training I had was always being on my toes, like ready for everything, because I was like the leader of DOA, but I was also the road manager at the same time too. So you had a lot of details going on and an awful lot of things that could go wrong all at the same time.
Yeah, no, I know it. You had the passion, but it was less than glamorous or guaranteed. When you gassed up the RV or van and headed over the border, coming through Washington and Oregon and coming down to California, you never knew quite what was going to happen or await you. At these shows, I was at the famous show there at the Whiskey. There was supposed to be 2 shows with you and Black Flag, and the riot squad was across the street, and a melee happened, and guess what? The second show didn't take place, and it was, many shows like that, just seeing like, wow, this is unpredictable.
Yeah, that show was out of control. I think it was 1980 at the Whiskey. It was at the Whiskey, like at
Yeah, I think
1980, and
it could have been 81. It was somewhere right around there, late 80 or 81.
might have been. But we had played a show with Black Flag 2 weeks previous to that at the Hong Kong Cafe, or Madame Wong's, one of the shows in Chinatown in LA. And about this us, Black Flag, and 2 other other slightly known bands from LA. And I think a total of like 8 people showed up and paid, right? So at the end of the night, my buddy Chuck Dukowski, bassist for Black Flag, goes, "Joe, we divide the money up evenly. So each band gets $8." We took that $8 and thought, okay, well, it's like 1,400 miles back to Canada. Let's see how far $8 goes, right? But then we got a call 2 weeks later saying, "Oh, hey, you want to come down and play the show at the Whiskey with us?" And we kind of went, we were just down there and we got $8, right? Like, talking about like undetermined unknown. we went there, and it was like a crazy show, and the first one sold out, and the second show never happened. Like I said, I remember like that at that show, all the streets were blocked off. The punks were trapped in the middle of the LA. Police had all the alleys and streets blocked, and a helicopter over top of the intersection in front of the whiskey. And then there was a moment of silence, and the sheriff came out, and he made sure everybody had their attention. He had their attention, because what he did, he held a shotgun up over his head and turned around so all the punks could see it. And I guess that was a signal, because at that point the LAPD went wild and started beating and trying to arrest everybody. And of course, all the punks tried to run off to escape. It was like control. So that's why I say, like, like you get stuff like that, you just have to roll with the punches and, try and survive.
Yeah, well, if people don't know, something as organized as the Warped Tour, in the beginning, these were ad hoc shows. You had some kind of, some kind of venue, the Shriners Lodge, or some kind of venue that didn't quite know who they were renting to, but all these underage, punks were showing up, and they wanted to rock out and show their allegiance, but law enforcement and all that certainly weren't prepared. These were not normal bars and venues in most cases, and so many legendary tales of those days, and so few people standing. You can count on your hands, some of the people like yourself that are still doing what they're doing, and believing in the cause, and why they did it.
Yeah.
And it really shows, you not only coming from those streets and, the hard knocks, but really being able to make change now, in government, and be that voice. A lot of people say, well, my vote doesn't count. Well, if everybody said that, guess what? Those in power stay in power. And,
yeah.
It takes every little vote. Yeah, not one vote is going to change, but everybody's votes together, can be turn a minority into a majority.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing then, because when you think about politics, and a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that go like, it's just, you get, there's an expression is, no matter which way you slice it, it's the same old baloney, right? But I think that if you can get people that actually want to change things for the better, and think about people first and not profits, and they want to protect the environment and care about women's rights, care about like fighting racism, like, to me these are really important issues, that you can, every vote counts, right? It takes a lot. I mean, I got in, I think I won by 270 votes, so it was 8 spots on council, and I got the 8th, right? And people up here couldn't believe it. They went, wow, they elected Joey Shithead for city council. And that was kind of the amazing part, right? That people went like, wow, okay, maybe things can be better, right? And it's like, get somebody who's open-minded. And I think that's the thing. You just got to be open-minded. And that's part of the thing about being a musician, get into punk rock. The reason why I like punk rock in the first place, that had great self-expression, that, and there was no rules. You played it by ear, and you did what you wanted to do. And of course, all these bands came along, and some were better than others, and some have survived, some haven't, right? But I mean, whatever, everybody put their heart into trying to create something that was unique.
Yeah, no, it's always time for change, as the old guard, gets older and they die off, the youth now become, middle-aged, and they remember who put in the work, and who really cared for the people, as opposed to lining their own pockets and, taking all that, all those kickbacks. Now, I know the documentary is being directed by the award-winning filmmaker Scott Crawford, and I know he's done not only the Cream magazine documentary, but also Salad Days, A Decade of Punk in Washington, D.C., and of course is produced by Paul Reckman, who you had mentioned, who directed American Hardcore and the co-founder of the Slam Dance Film Festival. Talk about how, the makings of this documentary all came. to be?
Yeah, I mean, Scott approached me and said, "Hey, I'd like to do." He heard that I got elected, and he was like an old time DOA fan. Like we were like among the probably the first band, not the first band, but one of the first bands to go play in the DC scene from out of town, like in 1979. And again later in 1980, we played like Ian Mackay's and Henry Rollins at our people's high school. Um, you know, and so people, so Scott approached me and said, "Hey, would you like to do a documentary? Because we've got two really good factors here. DOA, which is a fan, and then the activist politics, right? So and I checked out. I didn't know Scott at all, but I got word from Ian that yeah, he was like a reputable guy. So I mean, that's a good source to go to, and it just kind of developed from there. So, we did start a while back, but um, running for re-election in 2022. So Scott and Paul and some guys with cameras will be up here following the campaign trail next year, next fall. And then I think the doc will be out in about mid 2023. So you know what? I suppose with the doc, one thing is we don't know what the ending is going to be. If I win, I'm elected. They follow the campaign trail and they show what happened. If I lose, you know what? I still got my guitar and I haven't forgotten how to play or write songs.
Yeah, well, either way, they can't take your current position away. The fact that you have been elected
Yeah.
is part of history. And I know you're helping to make change now. And I know getting the word out, on this, I think will mobilize more and more support that you're not just a name on the ballot,
Yep.
but you've been in these trenches for decades. Like I say, I go back, going on 5 decades now with the 70s, with you and
Yep.
seeing, where you came from. But more importantly, I know there's been a lot of changes there in British Columbia and Vancouver and Burnaby. And I know it's important to have a voice, as things change. It's important to make sure that some of the ideals, that are important to us all are met. Like
Yep.
I say, big money can blur people's vision real fast. What are your goals, not only for this current position, but looking to run again? What is most important on your campaign?
Yeah, I mean, there are probably about three main points, and one is that the big thing that I got elected on was working towards affordable housing, which is like an out of control thing all over the place, all over North America, where people don't have a place to live, they can't afford a place to live. So that's the number one goal, and it remains so. We've made some progress on that, but still a long ways to go. Another thing is making a more sustainable, greener city where people they walk more, they ride their bike more, they don't get in their car as much. It will make you healthier, it will make the environment cleaner, and that also like grow into like a so-called greener economy, if you want to use that expression. But what I mean, like type of jobs that can last and that are clean. That helps. And the other thing too is the big issue is like diversity and equity, whichever way you want to put it. That a lot of people are really suffering right now through unfair treatment. I mean, they have for hundreds of years in North America, we know. But now COVID's like even highlight that like minorities and different ethnic groups are like having a super tough time, disproportionately. So we got to find a way to try and make. We live in a really wealthy society, and we got to try and find a way to make it more equitable for everybody within that society. And you talk about Jay, you talk about like people with like a lot of money. Some of them want to help, and a lot don't, right? But we got to just try and find a way to people pay their fair share and help out the people that need help.
Yeah, I mean, traveling around the world as you and I have, there's a lot of third world countries where people are either really rich or really poor. And, we see the weakening of the middle class, here. And it became obvious, with our last administration that, they wanted to make sure the rich continued to line their pockets. And there was more and more of a gap, between the working Americans and and these people that really didn't seem to want to share the wealth, and make sure that people had a roof over their head and food in their stomach and jobs that, like you say, when the head of a nation doesn't believe in climate change, you're in trouble
Yeah.
because when you see all that goes on, and these fires and this crazy weather, and it's never been hotter down
Yeah.
here, and
Yeah.
we're seeing everybody freezing in Texas and everything right now and losing electricity. So something's wrong, and we need
Yeah.
to always maintain an eye on the average person. Do people have a chance to grow up and get a job and live a decent life? Not that
Yeah.
wealth is guaranteed or even needed, but very very important. Now I know as part of this documentary, you have a Kickstarter campaign, and I see some
Yeah.
incredible things you're offering from your personal brand guitar, the Galaxy brand, the Joe
Yeah.
Keithley 100. You've got a great finish and look to it. Of course, you've toured for everywhere from Asia to Europe to North America. As I've seen you many, many years, and you got the bobbleheads and the vinyl picture discs and the large sign movie posters and skate decks, T-shirts, hoodies, and more. I know people want to take part in that. Tell us all about that and where they can participate.
Yeah, if you just Google Kickstarter and add in Something Better Change, the name of the documentary, then you can see what's there. There's like a ton of different things. Basically, with these kind of crowdfunding things, they call them rewards, right? You help out the project to make it come to fruition because we don't have private money involved in it, like Hollywood money or whatever to produce this thing. So we're counting on the DOA fans that have, and I got to thank everybody who's contributed to the campaign. I also want to thank everybody, all the fans that have been really good to us for the last 42 years, right? It's been an unbelievable journey to this point. So I, from the bottom of my heart, it's just like, thank everybody so much. So but there's if you want to join in, there's a lot of different rewards levels. Some are cheap, some are more. Like I said, there's guitars there. I think we've sold 5 guitars in the rewards thing, and there's one left, right? So you take a look, and the campaign ends on Sunday. So we're doing pretty good. We could use a little bit more help, so Paul, Scott, and I can get the film done and out there, and hopefully show you something that people find really unique and interesting.
Yeah, well, I know those that of us that were there know it's an incredible journey, and the stories are endless. But for those younger fans that come up and are already missing the Warp Tour and missing a lot of the record stores and everything that we all grew up with, it's a look into days gone by, of where
Yep.
we came from, and it's important to know where we came from to know where we want to get to, and we want to preserve some of those things that we grew up with, broadcast radio or streaming companies that, made
Yep.
it equitable for everyone to be heard. And, journalism has gone from all those newspapers and
Yep.
fanzines of past. Now everything's online. But, there was a whole industry. And as I tell people often, we help break, bands like yourselves and, the Clash and the Black Flags and the Misfits and all these groups with no social media, no cell phones, no
Nothing.
computers, no
Yep.
no Facebook or Instagram, no any of this, and it boggles their mind. They're like, "What did you do? Go door to door?" I mean, it practically was. You guys got on payphones and
Yep.
tried to not only make sure the promoter was there and had what he told you he was going to hand you at the end of the night, but then find a place to sleep and get up and make
Yep.
that drive to the next city, hoping that people were going to do what they said they were going to do.
The first younger people probably won't believe this, but how we booked the first tours, I would take the DOA first single, which was Disco Sucks 7-inch EP. I'd mail it to people. So you're talking like 1978, so like 10 million years ago. And I put a letter in it, like, and said, "Hi, we're DOA. We're a punk rock band from Canada. We'd like to come and play in your town. If you'd like us to show up, please send back a letter." And so because we didn't have the phone numbers. So we sent letters and we got replies back, and we went like, oh, okay, that worked pretty well. And we looked for venues. We'd go into record stores and find magazines and in the back, come and play this place in Seattle. And didn't have money to buy the magazine, so I'd write down the number and try and send them a letter or a phone call, right? So it was pretty. And hey, the very first time we went to Europe, 1984, we got a letter from these guys in Poland saying, "Hey, we very much like your band. Would you come and play in Poland?" And we wrote back a letter, "Yes, we would." When? And we waited for a letter to come back. It was like, I don't know, April 1984 or whatever. And we got 6 shows in Poland, which was a communist country under martial law at the time. And they had never seen punk rock at all. And somehow we got through the border and we played, and it was like historic, right? And but the tour was booked because of letters, right? So, which is hard to believe, right? So.
Yeah, snail mail and payphones. I mean, who would have thought, you know?
I used to have a buddy, he'd be on tour, and he couldn't afford to call back to let his wife know he was okay. So he'd phone and say, "Oh, it's a collect call from Bob." And unless you heard him yelling in the background, "Help, I need help," his wife would just hang up. Okay, I guess Bob's still alive. So they didn't have to accept the charges.
Yeah, that's true. True DIY. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, seeing you again and reliving these amazing moments 43 years later. And I would love to break some bread in a couple years from now and see you, down here on the West Coast and across America and across Canada, as you always have. And I know you know how to balance, entertaining some folks and still handling your council, business. And, more importantly, I think it's like you said, it's that talk minus action equals zero, and we all truly live by that. The people that actually put in the work know that you can talk all you want, but until you deliver, we don't know really what kind of person you are. And we know Joe Keithley, going all the way back to those great days in British Columbia. And I know it was a lot easier to cross the border back then than it is now. But let's pay homage to our friends of the North. We love Canada. We hope that it becomes a stronger and stronger friend of America. With our present administration, and we can get some more work done. Man, get rid of the egos and the bullying and the BS, and let's get down to work. Make sure affordable housing and a greener economy and more available jobs are those, especially in that green economy. There's a lot of jobs that can be created to turn our future into a renewable energy and so much more. So we're going to put all the links below this interview and let everybody know where they can click and get part of the Kickstarter and see the trailer. And I can't wait. I know it sounds a ways away, but I already have it in my mind to interview you for the documentary when it comes out. And of course, promote anything you're doing, Joe. Our special guest again, Joe Keithley. He is the councilman right there in Burnaby, BC, British Columbia, Canada. He is the founder and the main guy behind not only the mighty DOA, but also Sudden Death Records. And we appreciate all that you've done and congratulate you, sir, and welcome the new councilman and all that you can provide for the people, man. We love seeing work get done and people like yourself that have a heart.
Hey, Jay, thank you very much. Very nicely put. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate, like I said before, I really appreciate all the fans' help and support over the years. We wouldn't have kept playing all these years without you. So thanks a lot, everybody. And thanks, Jay. Keep going on, my friends. Yeah, hey.